My name's Sarah Swarts, and I previously was a realtor for Realty Corporation of America, and that's how I met Tony Viola. I actually met him when I was working for a different realty mortgage and title company, and it was 2003. I just had my daughter, and I got hired at Homestar Realty Mortgage and Title, and I was doing for sale by owners, calling people who had their houses for sale that didn't have a realtor, and I was not a realtor at this time. I sat next to a gentleman named Nick Miles. He was a part of Tony's cases, and he introduced me to Tony. And at that time, I really wasn't interested in like having a full-time job. So I started working out of my home after I left Homestar and started producing leads for Tony and his team of realtors that worked for Realty Corporation of America. I did that for quite some time, and then Tony's company grew, and they ended up having an office downtown. I then started working there in the office. I don't really know how long I worked there until I got my real estate license, but I eventually did get my real estate license. But I also worked at the mortgage company that a lot of this stuff procured from. So I answered phones there. A lot of the times I mailed out a lot of things for the real estate company. I kind of went back and forth. I don't know, I worked for, go ahead.
So you worked for Tony for several years prior to his indictment.
Yes, because I started working for him in 2003. I know that because my daughter was born, and I used to, that's when I started working for him. My first daughter.
Did you have an impression of him as a boss, as someone who'd be capable of the deception and greed that would be required of the crimes he committed?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Tony was always the first one to cut his commission. It was always about the customer. It was never, I mean, of course, in every business you want to make money, but it was like never about the money. You know, he was always the first one to be like, how do we make this work? What do I have to cut? And it was always his commission. It was never anybody else willing to do that, to make the deal go through. Or after things would close, people would have issues with their house, and Tony would be the first one to be like, okay, how can we fix this? Like, he went and fixed things for people on his own, like, you know, problems with their homes or whatnot. Because you know, some of the other gentlemen who were in this case with him, you know, they were obviously in the same business, and he was always trying to fix things for the customer. So it always came down to was the customer. Always.
So how did you learn about the indictment and the raids?
I wasn't there at the office that day that they came in and took the computers. I'm not really too familiar with like how that went down, and not to mention it was a really long time ago at this point. But from Tony, you know,
And
what happened, and you know, I just remember something happening where like they had went in. I mean, the files at the mortgage company were audited at some point, I believe, and then everything was fine. And then they came back and like, from my understanding, and supposedly found all these things that really had nothing to do with Tony, because Tony didn't run the mortgage company.
now, were you called to testify?
Yes. I was also interviewed by Arvin Clark from
Actually, I want to slow down then. You know, I know the answer to that question, honestly. So what I wanted to know from you is, first, can you tell me about the interview process that you went through? Because my understanding from speaking to Tony and then the investigator worked on his case is they had someone that would pre-screen people.
So, well, I was at that point when this happened, I was not really in the greatest place, but where I was at the time, this gentleman came and interviewed me. I don't know that there was like a screening for me being, so Tony went through two cases. He had the state and he had the federal. I only testified in the federal case, or I'm sorry, the state case. The federal case, I believe nobody testified, which is crazy.
Did anyone approach you during the federal case and interview you?
Yes. Yes. Arvin Clark came and interviewed me, asked me a bunch of questions. I was truthful and honest with him about Tony and the business, of what I knew of the business, because obviously I was involved in the business. I worked there for years, but like nothing ever came out of that. I never heard anything back from him after that. Nothing. It was just like he came, talked to me, he recorded our conversation. I know that, but there was never anything after that. It was just, he contacted me to meet me. He came and met me. He interviewed me. And then that was it. And besides, obviously, like I testified in the state case, but that's the case Tony represented himself. And he was able to call witnesses and all that.
So can you briefly summarize what you did, what your testimony was at Tony's state trial?
That he was innocent, that there's no way that Tony would dupe anyone. He would never do these things that they accused him of. Not to mention, he had nothing to do with the mortgage company, except he was partners with the mortgage company when it started. And then, Nick was doing things like nobody's closing was ever what it was supposed to be. And he didn't like how his partner was conducting himself. So he got out of it. And to me, if you're going to get out of a business that you're supposedly making all this money from, why, like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Like everything that happened, I watched, I worked at the mortgage company. I answered the phones. I seen what they were doing. As far as like, they were doing drugs at the office there, and Tony was never there. Tony didn't know what was going on there until.
This is at the mortgage office?
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, this is something maybe unexpected. Yeah, so you're saying
Nick
you were
Miles
someone, you would
was
have to go
running.
deal with the mortgage office. And I just spoke with John Caputo, and he sort of talked to me about, well, if anyone was really incentivized to commit fraud, it would be the mortgage agents or lenders because of the commission system.
Now, at that time, I wasn't a licensed realtor. I really didn't know, like, until I went to school and like learned all these things, like I didn't really know what was like, I guess, okay or not okay. And otherwise, I would have probably reacted differently. But I sat there at the office, I answered the phones, like Nick Miles, like I know they were doing drugs there. And it just Tony was never there. It was always Nick. He was the one running the office. Like, as a realtor, you can't be on both sides. Like you represent, you know what I mean? Like he only got the information that Nick gave him, like with the loans. Once you pass them off to like the loan officer or whatnot, it's like, it's not like we can go in there and find out the information ourselves, like where the money's going or where the money's even coming from the buyer. That's all the loan officer. So there's no way he had anything to do with that.
So what do you remember about your interactions with the prosecutorial team, Dan Casares or Mark Bennett?
Nothing really. I really, honestly, it's been so long. Like, I mean, I don't even, like, I just know Tony's innocent. So, like, he didn't have anything to do with those things. And it's all just, it's just crazy, all the evidence that has came out over the last however many years that Tony's, been in prison, and he's just doing all this from prison, finding out all this information. Like, it would have been so simple for somebody. I mean, somebody did investigate this stuff. They just didn't share the information. Nobody shared this information. They hid it. They wanted to protect their snitch, and they punished an innocent man. Like, it's sad. It's really sad. Like, Tony's one of the smartest, most hardworking man that I've ever met in my life. And what they have done to him is just absurd and cruel. Because they have the evidence that it wasn't Tony who did this. And they're still trying to, like, prosecute him for it. I just don't get it.
Is there was there any members of the press that ever contacted you, or did you follow press coverage of this general story and have any opinion on what you were hearing?
Not really. Like, I didn't really follow it because, like, I know what the truth was, and, like, anything that they were saying was false as far as I, knew. And I mean, how do you get found guilty in a federal case and innocent in a state case, and nobody sees anything wrong with that? Like, how it's just the way
And
this is done. No, I've never been interviewed by the press, or the only interview I ever had was with Arvin Clark, besides me testifying in the trial.
um, did you have any relationship or interactions with Catherine Clover?
So I know Catherine Clover because when I was working for Tony, and she came in as an investor, that she came in and bought a bunch of properties. I believe more than once. She had multiple deals with multiple houses to obtain, like, slew of rental houses. Um, Other than that, I've met her a bunch of times, but she'd always she wanted to buy houses, you know?
And so you, I mean, you're essentially with your testimony refuting what she served for the prosecution was a material witness who apparently saw another side of Tony that you didn't.
Yeah. But then we all saw another side of her too than what she portrayed. Like, so she lied about a lot of things. So why wouldn't she lie about that too?
Can I guess the last thing I'd ask you, and then I'll let you go, and thank you for your time. Um, I realize to me, it strikes me as quite a thing that, you're just a working mom. You have a busy Sunday night. I know how precious your free time is. Even more than that, that you are willing to put your name just unequivocally attached to Tony's innocence. And, it's that sort of it's that sort of thing I'm finding, which certainly gives me a lot more I guess investment in the story, and realizing, like, okay, I guess I don't less and less see it that, like, it's a risk putting my name to calling out this prosecutor. So I just want to say I thank you very much for this, and I want to know why you're stepping up and what you hope will come of more people being aware of this story. What actions would you like to take if the press do watch this, or even more importantly, if Attorney General Dave Yost or other people that he has worked under and risen under or become aware of the story?
Well, first of all, he's innocent. So the fact that these people have already taken so much from him, like, it's nothing for me to come out here and tell the truth. I mean, that's all I'm doing, is coming out here and telling the truth. And the truth has already been brought to light. And the fact that nobody will just own up to it, like enough is enough. Like, own up to it. Like, just try to make it right. Like, it's nothing for me to put my name out here for Tony. You know, he was a great person to work for. And, you know, I just can't believe that the facts are here in front of people's faces and they're still trying to lie. Like, everyone who's guilty, it doesn't matter. They're still trying to lie. And I would scream from the rooftops that he's innocent and he deserves to get back whatever he can for what he's went through. Like, you know, like, just give him his life back. Like, let him live the rest of his life. Like, hasn't he, and that's the thing too. It's like, they still aren't even letting it go. He still has an ankle monitor on. He's still basically awarded to the, not the state, but the feds. He's still a prisoner with that ankle monitor on. He's still an inmate for the federal prison system. Like, and there's people in the system that are seeing that he's innocent, other judges, and it's like they're sitting here still trying to prosecute him for something he didn't do. So I would, if you ever want to talk to me again or need me to say anything else, that I'd be happy to.
How do you feel about knowing the fact that Dan Casares and other prosecutors who behaved in this unethical way to make a case go down the way they wanted it to go down, regardless of how they did it, that he has continued to have a career? He's now an assistant state attorney general.
I don't even know how that's possible. That's crazy. There's evidence against him that showed that, like, misconduct at least, or that he didn't do his job. Like, and what's going to happen to him? Something should, you know, like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Others I spoke with share my like, you know, I think there should be a special investigation into every case he's worked.
Absolutely. Well, at least this one. I mean, this one, there's all this proof already here. The investigation is already pretty much done. Like, but they should do something about it. I mean, yeah, should they investigate his other cases? Sure. But why not start with the one that there's already all the evidence? The investigation's already been done for them. Here's the evidence. Well, because what makes them any better than any of us? I mean, I've done some things in my life that I'm not proud of. You know, I had to go own up to my mistakes and serve time for them. Tony served time for something he didn't do. Other people serve time for their mistakes. Why should he be any different?
Well, it's a fantastic, strong statement to end on. If I think of anything else you can help me with in terms of details, I might shoot you a text or an email. Otherwise, I think what I'm doing with you and several other people is just sort of asking you all the same questions, having, how you knew Tony, going through the experience and what you testified to, and putting that all together as sort of one more bit of confirmation and color of everything he's already told me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Tony's my friend, like, but Tony's like all of this that's happened. Like, I'm not doing this like because he's my friend. Tony is my friend because of everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing this for him as his friend. Like, without the real estate company and without me of working for him, he would have never been my friend. So it's not like I'm doing this because he's my friend. Like, this is what's right. You know, he deserves better than he's getting right now.
Well, I'll just say this as a closing thought. I'm really glad you're a mom and you're raising kids.
Tony has, it's crazy. My oldest is 18. I met Tony like right after she was born. Yeah.
You know,
No,
as a my kids are very much in the loop with what I do. It's funny, my 8-year-old, the younger one, I've told him Tony's case. And I tell like a very just dry, not even like pushing it. And when I get to the part, and then Dawn was going to testify and she killed herself. And he's like interrupts me like, Dad, I think that might have, like a fucking 8-year-old.
That's crazy.
I
Tony,
just don't believe in convenient suicides with powerful
I
people
know
involved.
Tony's done for me. There's like the things he's done for not just me, for everyone. Like all the people in his life, like he's helped so many people. To say that he would rip anybody off is just, if you know him, it's, that's like, there were other people that I was like frustrated with them that they didn't testify in the state case because like, I'm like, how could you not? The things he's done for you, if you just go in there and tell them those things, like, like I've lived with Tony. I was living in Tony's house when he went to prison. I didn't even know that he was getting sentenced that day. The only reason I knew, like, I was like, do you want me to go with you? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay. Like, he's like, I'll see you later. I didn't know it was his sentencing. I was in the shower. My mom came into the house and I heard my mom's voice, and there was no reason that my mom should have been in the house. And I knew something was wrong, and my mom started crying and like telling me that how much time they gave him. And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I'm thankful to be working this, and I'm 100% independent. I can send you the work I do. This will probably go out under stateofinjustice.com, where I have a documentary series that's about Euclid. And, I found this just by paying attention to people who are like crying out, like, why won't someone look at this thing? It was Kelly Patrick's story that then led me to Viola. But
my biggest thing I can't comprehend is how much evidence there is. And like,
this is why it took me I'm learning this by doing. I'm not a credentialed. I didn't go to school for this. But I've been doing it for a year, and I've proven myself to myself and other people. But I found this, like I said, January, I was 6 months into like putting on saying I'm going to be a journalist. And it was really a process of being like, there has to be a reason no one's covering this. It's, and I just kept absorbing it and following it. And what really pushed me over the edge was seeing like Tony was going into all these courts, putting this shit on the record, exhausting every legal avenue he had and any angle to put it out there in front of people, and filing complaints to the point where like, if he's lying, he's going to face new charges.
Yeah. Like, right. I mean, the fact that they've let him out of prison should tell you something too. Somebody knows somewhere. Because if they really truly believed he was guilty, why wouldn't they have let him just finish his time? And he's proved to enough. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm in. I hope I can. I'm in this for the right reasons, and I want to see him vindicated as much as I want to. I really feel for what Dawn Pasella did. I have spoken to her parents now multiple times. I've heard about how they were treated in the aftermath of this, trying to find out information of what happened to her. I've heard about the fact that Dan Caceres on the day that she, they announced she was dead. Everyone in the court that worked with her was like in tears and shocked. And Dan was apparently like, all right, well, we can still move forward with things without her testimony. Holy shit, man. So,
I swear if something doesn't happen to him, like, like how, I mean, it just shows how much more broken the system is. I
that's
mean,
the amount. That's the maximum amount of great quotes I can get out of you, Sarah. It'll be too loaded because you just said so many indignant things that express how I feel, but I'm not very like, I don't tell people how to feel in my reporting. I kind of take them through like, then I read this, and then I talked to this person, and they told me this, and they told me this. So people just become as angry as I fucking feel, and you just expressed, but I don't tell them to feel that way.
no, like I've been in trouble in my life. I'm not perfect by any means. And like the last time I got in trouble and my lawyer told me, they're not going to play it down. And I'm like, he's like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I'm guilty. Like, like I was guilty. Like, so this man is guilty. He should have to, and I understand what you said, like his other cases should be looked through, but it's like, can you start with one? Really? Like all the evidence is there. How do you, how is it okay for you to sleep with a witness, your witness, that's trying to put away the man you're prosecuting? It's crazy. Well, I don't know. That's all I can say. It's frustrating.